Hey you, Bravo's now in Canada.
I just got chills.
If you know Bravo,
I love that. You love that?
you know Vanderpump Rules,
Why does it have to get so complicated?
Summer House,
Don't activate me because you've not seen me activated.
Below Deck,
I'm not your friend, I'm your captain.
Top Chef,
Hi, Chef.
and Housewives. Definitely Housewives.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to this.
Bravo, now available.
It's insane.
Subscribe now with your TV service provider.
Fall in Canada has never been hotter.
Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Okay. So here's the thing I just can't wrap my mind around. American democracy is in danger of collapse. Racist lies have endangered the people of a small town as well as immigrants across the United States. Women are dying in hospitals from a lack of reproductive care. A presidential candidate with a good chance to win has promised to jail his political opponents and become, his own words, a dictator on day one. And at the same time, the cat memes have never been better.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies. By a bunch of childless cat ladies. We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies.
Today's episode is an attempt to grapple with existential threats as well as existential coping mechanisms. To examine why exactly cats have taken over the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's also deadly serious. It speaks to the place that cats hold in our popular culture and cat memes and what that means. And it offers insights into just how campaigns are fought these days, even when the stakes are highest. But also, I don't know. How did we end up here? You tell me. I'm Jordan Heath Rawlings, and this is The Big Story. Igor Bobic is a senior HuffPost reporter who covers Congress, the White House, and political campaigns, and, now, cat memes. Hello, Igor.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't you start? And I know everybody's seen this, but just explain what Donald Trump said about cats at the widely watched presidential debate last week. And not just cats, dogs and other pets.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it took a lot of people by surprise, including Vice President Kamala Harris, who could hardly seem to believe that he was delving into this. But, he brought up this ugly rumor and smear of Haitian immigrants in Ohio, that they were eating people's pets. He said that they were eating dogs and eating cats. It's this online rumor that's been going on now for several weeks that actually started as, some of these things often start on Facebook, on a Facebook group. And, it wasn't even a firsthand type of thing. It was somebody had heard from somebody's daughter, from somebody's neighbor, that there was a cat who was dead and was hanging off a tree and, was in front of a Haitian migrant's house. And so from there on, this thing kind of took a life on its own. It was picked up on the, the bowels of the right-wing blogosphere and the internet and Twitter, and somehow managed to find its way on a presidential debate stage, if you can believe it. Donald Trump sharing something unverified and false, as well as his running mate, J.D. Vance, had also amplified this, even though, he represents the state of Ohio in the U.S. Senate. He was sort of whipping up his supporters and Republican voters to take a firmer stance against immigration and pointing to these ugly rumors that are completely false. The state's governor had said so, and police had said there's no merit to it. And yet here we are, everybody's talking about cats now.
And there have been a lot of memes about this rumor, lie, whatever we're going to call it. And we'll talk about the seriousness of it in a moment. But first of all, there are the memes that came around from the right-wing bowels of the internet around what J.D. Vance had said. And then post-debate, there have been memes, I guess, on the opposite side of the aisle from Kamala Harris supporters or people basically just mocking the ridiculousness of it. Can you just describe those two kind of combating internet phenomenons?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely absurd. You had conservatives, including Trump's son, Don Jr., tweeting these AI-generated memes of Trump holding cats and geese and ducks in his arms and being, protecting them and shielding them, but also some ugly ones. Ted Cruz, the Texas senator, tweeting, don't let immigrants eat your pets, with photos of cats. And then on the other side, you had Democrats mocking Trump over this story when he had finished debating Kamala Harris and not done so well. I think that was the basic takeaway from the debate, is that she wiped the floor with him. But the memes were showing him with cats, and that's all he had at the end of the debate is nothing else.
On the one hand, we have his statements at the debate being turned into like songs, and people are sharing them, and it's funny. And then on the other side of this, right, tell us about the fallout from this, because these are really serious and ugly allegations about immigrants who are here legally and everything else. Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. It's been a hellish week for the city of, it's a relatively small city of 50, 60,000 people that has been strained by this influx of migrants, Haitian migrants. But now you're seeing these poor immigrants who came here, who are legal, by the way, who have temporary protected status, who came there to work, to get a job, and are now being vilified. There are bomb threats. Public schools are being closed. Universities are being closed there. It's kind of become a vortex in this campaign. And really, I've never seen anything like this. You have a representative, a senator, whipping up a mob against his own constituents. And you also have a presidential candidate doing that as well. But it's not just, Democrats there. It's Republicans as well who are saying that this has gotten out of control.
And it's incredible that every election, it seems, we talk about the culture of the internet having more and more influence on the real campaign. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about this today is because there's nothing that summarizes the internet better than, cat memes. And this is not even the first time that this has happened in this campaign. Can you explain the other instance that left, I guess, the entire American political world discussing cat ownership?
Yeah, I mean, J.D. Vance, again, if you can believe it.
I can, actually.
Several years ago, he had lamented that, quote, childless cat ladies were, not starting families or choosing not to have children. And he's had several of these viral clips where he's speaking down against a group of women, particularly who have, for one reason or another, decided that either they don't want kids or they can have kids. And very relevant to this discussion over, IVF and in vitro fertilization, whether people have access to it or not, and whether Republicans want to do away with reproductive rights.
Right.
So his comments there have touched a very live nerve, angering a lot of women, not just Democrats. J.D. Vance, if you take a look at his poll numbers, has a sharply negative favorability rating, which is not the case for the Democratic vice presidential runner, Tim Walz. So it's become a huge issue for him. And him saying these kinds of things out there has really harmed his campaign. Some, Trump supporters have even questioned whether Trump made the right decision to pick J.D. Vance as his running mate, given that all this was already out there. I don't know if Trump's agreeing with that, given that he's echoing Vance and all his kooky comments. But it's a really ugly moment in the race. And as you pointed out, there are these moments that seem to go viral every presidential cycle. The campaign is so long and things tend to go viral. In 2012, there was a similar moment where Mitt Romney, in his story about his dog back in the 1970s and how he had tied the poor dog to the roof of his car, his dog named Seamus.
Oh, right.
That had gone viral and Democrats were attacking him over that. In past cycles, of course, dogs were a huge part of presidential campaigns. You had the Nixon checker speech with his Cocker Spaniel and other uses of dogs to humanize political candidates. This cycle, though, it appears to be truly the year of the cat, where cats have broken through, whereas in past cycles it was dogs.
I mean, I'm asking you now the difference between cats and dogs, which is a hilarious thing to do on a podcast. But why cats this time, I guess, and why do they seem to have this kind of significance, particularly for Republicans attacking Democrats?
Yeah, I think that, on the surface level of it, it's absurd, right? Why are we talking about cats? But underneath, there is this issue of gender and the role gender is playing in this election. A lot more women support Harris than they do Trump. And I think studies have been shown that Democrats tend to lean closer to cats, owning cats, than do Republicans. So I think Republicans are trying to use this archetype of a Democrat or liberal voter who has a cat, who's sitting at home, not doing anything, not starting a family, as sort of trying to gin up their base.
I know the polls can kind of go back and forth and all over the place, but are there any indications that those smears have been working, whether it is the anti-migrant smears or even just the childless cat lady stereotypes they're pushing?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't think the Trump campaign cares about whether it's working at all. What they want to do is get this issue of immigration and, frankly, people of color who they don't think should be here into the national discussion. So whether they make up fake stories or not, and as J.D. Vance, I believe yesterday, acknowledged, he said, it doesn't matter if we create stories. He said this on CNN. He said, it doesn't matter if we create stories as long as the media is talking about it, right? So as long as that the immigration issue is a live one where Republicans have the advantage, they're happy to take this to the bank and have this discussion.
It's not always been Republicans discussing cats, though. Can you, I know Joe Biden is no longer in the race, but he's been involved in this too. Can you explain his, I guess, cat snafu? I don't know what to call it.
Well, Joe Biden, who has two dogs who have gotten themselves into trouble in the White House for biting Secret Service officers, also during his debate with Trump that went very poorly for him, had used the image of cats to slam Trump, talking about his many felony charges, saying he had the morals of an alley cat,
right?
Questioning his ethical behavior. Some cat owners did not take very kindly to this expression. Now, Joe Biden is a very old man, and he often tends to use expressions that most people don't use anymore, right? So I don't think I've ever heard of this expression before.
Right.
I've interacted with many a nice alley cat. So.
It's a great analogy, though. You have to admit, it's really colorful.
It is. It brings to mind, what's the Disney movie? I'm
the
blanking
Aristocats.
On the name. That's right.
A favorite of the daughter in my house. Listen, you mentioned that J.D. Vance's stereotypical childless cat ladies was angering women.
Mm-hmm.
One woman in particular. Who's the childless cat lady in chief, and what's her role here in the next couple months?
Potential future president, maybe? I don't know. Taylor Swift.
Hey, if Donald Trump can do it, there's nothing you can rule out.
Absolutely. Although arguably she's got more power than a president right now, I think. But she had finally weighed in. People were waiting on to see what she was going to do with this election. She had, in prior elections, had spoken up in favor of Democrats. And until the debate last week between Trump and Harris, she had finally weighed in, posting on Instagram a picture of one of her cats, a very cute black and white cat, endorsing Harris, urging people to vote, and signed it, childless cat lady, Taylor Swift. And obviously a huge dig against Trump and Vance. And Trump did not take it very well. Over the weekend, he had posted on his website, Truth Social, "I hate Taylor Swift," in all cap letters, as a normal presidential candidate would. I'm not sure why he did that, but as far as winning the votes of Taylor Swift fans, who I believe there are a lot of conservatives also, I'm not sure how that helps him.
The last aspect of this I want to talk to you about is, we're a Canadian podcast, so we cover the American election every couple of weeks or so, because obviously it's incredibly important for us up here too. And I want to ask you a little bit just about the absurdity, I guess, of your job right now, which is we're having this conversation about cat memes and Taylor Swift and the way that both sides have been making fun of one another online. And at the same time, you know, there's creeping fascism in America, and the stakes for this election seem so absurdly high. And how do you balance that in your work, I guess, day to day, knowing that, like, this is what people are talking about, but this is also what's at stake here? Yeah.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard because, you know, we as the media, and I'm talking about the broader, we have an issue with chasing, the shiny object, chasing a cat toy. I'll use that as a metaphor, where Donald Trump knows that he can shine a shiny object at us and we will go chase it. And it's just impossible to ignore. He does it almost every week now. He did it as president. He'll tweet out something crazy, something racist. And the nature of the business is you have to go cover that, right? And what does it mean? What's the impact? There's these panels on television. We're asking members of Congress questions about it. And you sort of get lost in the craziness. And I think that's what he's banking on to get him through this election. And if we're talking about cats or whatever else latest ridiculous thing we're talking about, we're not talking about his plans for, mass deportations or getting away with entire departments of government or some of his other designs that would increase his power and make him largely unchecked if he wins the White House again. So it's definitely hard. I'm not going to lie to you about that, but we do our best to kind of ground some of this more absurdity into the fact that here are his policies and what he's going to do when in office.
And I mean, listen, we called you. I mean, we have covered this very seriously, but we also called you because this stuff is fun to talk about, and talking about what's at stake in the election. Not only have we all done it up here, and you are doing it down there every single day, it gets depressing. And Igor, there's a long time to go until November still.
Yeah, for real. I'm scared. We're all scared about, it used to be that the election came and that was it, right? You could take your vacation. You could, I remember in 2016, I went up to Toronto like the weekend after the election because I was like, I'm checking out. It's my vacation. This time around, I'm not making those plans. I'm blocking off the next 2 or 3 months after the election because I'm afraid of what might happen. There's already been 2 attempts on Trump's life. There could be even worse things happen, another January 6th possible scenario. So that's kind of top of mind right now underneath all this kind of absurdity that's going on.
And if a cat meme can get you through the day, then it makes it only 48 to go, I guess.
Yeah. That's right.
Thank you so much for this. I'm glad that we had some fun with it. I'm also glad we got at what's really going on here. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Igor Bobic is a senior HuffPost reporter covering the presidential campaign in the United States. It is serious, I swear. That was The Big Story. For more, you can head to thebigstorypodcast.ca. It will not surprise you, actually it may, to know that we've done many episodes on cats. Type it in to the search bar at the bottom of the page, see what you find. Some of them are unique, I will say that. If you want to offer feedback or request an episode, another cat episode, you can do it by sending an email to hello@thebigstorypodcast.ca, or you can do it by picking up the phone and dialing 416-935-5935 and leaving a voicemail. The Big Story is available in any podcast player you like. Yes, that includes Seeker, Seekr, and on your favorite smart speaker when you ask it to play The Big Story Podcast. Thanks for listening. I'm Jordan Heath Rawlings. We'll talk tomorrow.